Morning and welcome, family, to another episode of Transformation with Lauta Rasul. This is Ahad Rasul speaking. We're happy to be here. Now, today's topic is something that we know everyone can relate to, something we can personally relate to as well. So, if anybody has anything to share, comments, questions, anything, feel free to call in throughout the whole duration of the show, and we will be sure to get everybody on air so everyone can hear what you have to say. Now, the topic of today's show is our relationship with food. Now, just to give a little background, our relationship with food has been a personal motivation for Ms. Lauta Rasul and myself. Personally, with me, at a young age, very, very young, I was very sick, had all kinds of allergies and eczema and all types of things. And just to my luck, I was also allergic to all the medication that I received from the hospitals for treatment. So I was even allergic to my mom's own milk, and which basically put me in a position where either I was going to just stay sick or I was going to be forced to take the medication and still be sick because I was allergic to the medication. So, because I have one of the best mothers that anyone can ask for, she actually made it her mission to learn how I can be healed from all the ailments that I was going through my diet, through the food and the things she gave me, because I was so allergic to so many different things, so many different foods, so many different, of course, medications, chemicals, and all the rest. Even her, I was allergic to her to a certain extent. So she made it her mission to kind of heal me out of that. And that actually is the start. And I'm not going to give too much about it. I'll let her get into the story a little more. However, that actually is the start of getting us to where we are today, which is pretty profound to us. So this is a very sensitive but very powerful topic that we feel like everyone can benefit from. So with no further ado, let me introduce the star of the show, Ms. Lauta Rasul. Good morning.
Greetings in Lakesh, and salutations to everyone. Happy to be here, and we're going to talk a little bit about a personal historical story that Ahad has mentioned, our own travels and our own exploration into food. And of course, Ahad laid the platform a little when he was born. He was just adorable, just like he is now. However, he had allergies. After about 3 months, we noticed that he was visibly in distress after he would eat, and I was nursing. And I realized that it was very clear that he was not compatible with the milk. So I tried several other things, all the normal things, formulas and goat milk and a whole variety of different things. And I was appalled as I looked at the ingredients and what children were being given, because I had been a natural mother and had nursed my other children. So I was really shocked and amazed at what was in the ingredients in the different products. But more importantly, even whether I was shocked or amazed or not, he wasn't able to tolerate any of them. And so we ended up seeking professional allopathic help through the medical establishment, and that was didn't work out well for us. There was, at that time, the type of problems that he had were being treated with steroids, which was an unacceptable reality. So I found myself having to decide whether I was willing to allow my child's life to be in the hands of a system that I could see wasn't going to work for him in this particular case. It wasn't that I was opposed to going, but after we went, it just didn't work out. So he had gotten progressively worse, and he was losing weight, and it was really quite difficult for me as his mother. And he had developed a severe case of eczema because everything that we did give him made him itchy and he'd scratch himself bloody. It was just really a horrific experience. So I sat down at that time and went internally and got into meditation and determined through my own thought pattern that I would make sure that I would take this experience that was happening into my own hands and be responsible. So I started researching and studying and exploring food and how this circumstance could be alleviated. And at the same time, I was also learning about emotional and mental and physical constructs that affected it, the environment, the emotional environment, the physicality and the allergies to the different things that were going on. So I learned quite a bit, and this became a life work. And after, by the time he was 3, he was pretty much healed from this experience, but I had to go through quite a bit. And so I researched and found out quite a bit of information about soy that was in the formulas and realized that that was very detrimental. And I found, and you all may look up Weston A. Price Foundation. I explored what they had to say and all the research they had done on soy and on baby formulas and all the things they found out about gender and sexual effects of the phytoestrogens that are in the soy and the whole history of it. I eventually even wrote a book where I, documented the things I had researched and found out. I also looked into milk and found out that for children whose ancestors were from Africa and areas where there was a lot of heat, that the consumption of cow's milk was not a good idea for them. And it certainly wasn't in my family. So I found out a lot of things about allergies to milk and giving children milk items. I looked into goat milk. I looked into a whole variety of different things. And after having done quite a bit of research over a year, I came up with a formula and that I made myself, and I used the small white bean, and I had read about it and material in years before that was something that could be done. And then I also made vegetable broths and a variety of different things that he could tolerate, where we could see that the physical side effects were much lessened by that approach. So during this process of intense personal exploration to, in my mind at the time, save the life of my child and make sure that his health was protected, I became very intimately involved with the idea of food itself. What did it mean? What's the idea behind it? What is the relationship to the body? What is the relationship to the mother, to the child, to the parent, to the human being who lives on the earth where the food comes from? And this is a process that is still ongoing. Ahad is 22 years old, and this has been going on for 22 years since he was born, because we saw the debilitating effects of his allergies and the eczema in the first 3 months. So I still am in relationship with food, and I have a lot to share with you today concerning that. So Ahad is most certainly the star of this story, and he is very healthy and has not had any issues actually since he recovered at 3 years old. He hasn't had any visits at all to the doctor, I don't think, for anything other than just the maintenance and dental. So the things that I'm going to share with you are my own personal experience and my own understandings through my own research that was significantly impacted because of the health of my child. So the first thing I want to talk about is the air, which seems like an odd place to start this conversation about food. But breathing is very important to our well-being. Breathing is very important to our emotional stability. It's very important to our connection between the brain and between the heart. And as most of you know, it's not a secret that most of us breathe very shallow and that we don't get enough oxygen. Well, often we don't even think about what is in the oxygen, what's carried in the oxygen, the elements that are on the planet that make up the body. Now, we are the material of this planet, are carried in the air. And one of the most important things that a person can do for good health, spiritual, mental, and physical, is to do breathing exercises, deep breathing, be conscious, do conscious breathing, because consciously breathing is deeper than just breathing. If you consciously breathe, the connections are more solid between the brain and the heart. Everything works better. The blood is oxygenated. All the information is carried, and it's a excellent way to begin our nutrition.
Yes, ma'am. So, when you say breathing or the oxygen, how can we actually affect or have any kind of impact on our own oxygen intake when it's so polluted from sources that are outside of ourselves? Like, is there any place you go to get better oxygen, or is it just, are you speaking more towards the way we breathe, or how we go about breathing?
D, all of the above. Of course, it is better to breathe air that's cleaner, and if you have the opportunity, then you can go to the mountains or you can go to the seashore. We know that even in the 1800s, people were sent to the seashore so that they could get the clearer, cleaner air that comes in on the marine layer, that comes in on the seas, the oceans, the rivers, those are all good places. However, the work that I do, we work wherever we are. We start where we are. So if you're in a city and there's congestion and pollution in the city, which there is everywhere on this planet, whether you're in the city or not, then you start where you are. The idea, though, is that it is more important to breathe in the oxygen and to make the connection between your brain and your heart, because you have more power than you realize to make that connection work for you. This connection can give you an outcome that you wouldn't expect, even if you are in a polluted city.
Okay, well, unfortunately, we're coming up on our break. So on the other side of the break, we're going to have to continue this conversation. But just so I'm understanding what you're saying, we're starting from the ground level of breathing, this being the base of how we're going to explore this idea that we're speaking about today. And you're saying that before anything else, we need to give serious attention to the fact or how we go about breathing, meaning we need to actually respect the process of breathing, because a lot of us, we just do it. We, unconsciously, we just do it. We don't have to think about it. And luckily for us, we don't have to think about it because we got a lot of other things going on our plate. But you're saying take some time and actually devote it to respecting the art of breathing and making it a part of your life on a daily basis.
As a matter of fact, it is our first nutrient. And the way that we know that is that if you are deprived of it, you fall over dead.
That's the first thing, right?
So it is where all of our nutrients can be accessed wherever we are, whatever the conditions are. The anxiety and the depression and the stress that we feel in our daily lives, everything else can be alleviated. All of those things can be alleviated if we start to consciously deep breathe. And from that point, everything else will work better.
Yeah, I never even paid much attention to the fact of what you just said about how breathing is our number one source of nutrients, and that's the one thing that we don't give any kind of real attention to. And until things are going beyond, overboard, until things are going crazy and, haywire in our lives, then we want to take a moment to breathe. However, and of course, we're all very familiar with exercises that point out breathing as being the base of it, yoga and other breathing techniques and things like that. So yes, we're all aware of it, but outside of the time that we devote to it, we're never thinking about it. And I think that's really something when that's the biggest thing that we need.
And you've been watching me breathe your entire life.
Yeah.
Making a practice of conscious breathing, and I've encouraged you to do it, and all of my children and all of the ones around me and all of the ones I work with, because you're setting the framework for everything else to work perfectly once you make those connections and you establish that the nutrients coming in through the air itself, because it's more to it. There's much more to air than we realize.
All right. Well, everybody, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back. Everybody, stay tuned.
Well, we are back and we're still talking about food, and this show is a little different than other shows about food, because now we're going to talk about the idea of what happens with the seeds and what happens with food before it gets to the table. And this is very important, and this is something that is, this understanding is something that's quite ancient but not well considered in our current time. But the seeds contain all kinds of DNA and information from the universe. The seeds are here specifically and designed specifically to give us the nutrients. And when food is planted, it should be done in a certain way. And I was explaining some of this to someone I know, a friend of mine from Africa, and he gave me a wonderful example of how, in a natural setting, how this is true. So the way that we should work with food, and if we have seeds, is we should put the seeds in our mouth. And we should have our saliva mixed with the seeds for about 9 minutes. And then, only then, after we've done that, after we have informed the seeds of our condition, should we plant the seeds into the ground. And then once the seeds are planted, we should walk with our feet around the seeds, because our body has perspiration and sweat that comes out of the feet as a normal part of being human, and that goes into the dirt, and it helps to inform the seeds as to what your DNA is, what your individual needs are. When my children were born, my first children were born, we were in Europe, and it is a custom there that the placenta be buried in a plum tree, be planted. And the wise tell, or the history, and it turns out to be the truth, is that then that child, whenever that child is growing up, they should eat from that tree to be healthy. So that is what happened with my older children. But it's also true of all of us. If we live in a house, in nature, anywhere we live, which is in nature, the plants and things around the house will, if we give them our information, the things that grow around the house will be those things that will heal us from our DNA. So we need to inform the plants and the things around our home as to what our DNA is. So when you're planting seeds, if you're growing something, put the seeds in your mouth, then put them into the soil, and then don't water them immediately, because if you water them, you'll wash off your saliva. And then as they're in the soil, then make sure that you walk barefoot in the early stages as they sprout. And don't pull up all of the weeds near them, because some of them are there to protect the seeds, and some of them have other information that's needed for the seeds to grow. So in the same way that I was told when I was in Europe about using a portion of the body of the children through when they're born to plant the seed, that gives all of the information that those children come in with, and all of their lacks and all of their deficiencies and all of the things that are good. And then the nature, the intelligence of the Mother Earth, the intelligence of nature itself will bring forth the necessary components to help keep the person healthy. And this intelligence is more intelligent than our current science. This is more intelligent than anything that we can buy, and there are no side effects. So when I was sharing this example with my friend from Africa, he said, well, in Africa, he says, well, you eat a mango and then we throw the seed into the area where they will grow into mango trees. So their saliva is, so it's a natural process. You eat something, it has a seed, your saliva, your DNA is on the seed. You plant the seed, and then the seed now has, it's the same effect as what I'm saying about put the seeds in your mouth for 9 minutes. So it's a very interesting concept. This is something that is not, we didn't discover. This is the most ancient of knowledge. However, this is something that's little known, and it's very much a part of our discussion today about food.
That's a beautiful idea that you just said. To imagine that for any person who can fathom that actually having direct effect on themselves or their children or wherever it may be, that the you can have something that's tailored specifically to what you need through your own efforts, that comes from your body and is tailored towards giving you nutrients and benefits that your body needs. That's a beautiful thing. But that kind of I might have to start going to the grocery store and asking about did the person suck on the seeds first before to know. But it actually gives us something great to look forward to, because as a part of our goal here of the Sun and what we do, we plan to set up a environment where all of these different, whether we look at them as cool ideas or the things that are necessities or the things that will cause a better environment of living for people as a whole, we plan to bring all these things about in a way that is lasting. So right now we're not in the farming industry, so to say. However, we definitely will be doing everything that we can to have a setup for everyone to be able to access the type of things that are best for them. So right now we're doing spiritual and mental and energetic healing and doing things that can educate everyone and give them an environment to cultivate themselves in that field. However, soon we will bring it to the food and all the other things that we know about that is beneficial to our people. Because right now the only options you have is the grocery store, or you might have the occasional farmer's market, but even those things are no longer what they might once have been. So this is exciting, and this is something that you guys can definitely book it, that will be in the future of what we're doing. So if you hang around, stick around, you'll have some exciting things to be a part of as well.
Now, this is so important. Of course, we can't necessarily plant all of our food. However, we could have a flower pot with basil in our kitchens. We could have a hanging basket with just this one thing planted in exactly this way, and then we can benefit in some small way. All of these things are very doable, maybe not on a grand scale, but if you have done this for yourself and for your children, you have done something that will improve your circumstance in a world where food is an issue. Food is an issue in our world. And the way that we're usually hear ourselves talk about it is from a very external point of view about what a particular food does, but none of this operates in a vacuum. Everything operates harmoniously together. The air and the stars themselves, I would encourage people to look at the moon cycles and to get almanacs and to figure out when to plant a thing. All of these things are contributing factors, and all of this is in the intelligence of this universe. One of the other aspects that I want to talk about is that food and water, and actually all liquids, but food in particular, is especially susceptible to our imprinting it with our thought patterns and our energy profiles. So we can imprint upon our food what we would like to happen with the food, and the food is particularly receptive. So I have developed a system with flip charts and my most recent food contributions, where I tell people, different recommendations for what they can say to their food. But really what I'm talking about right now is the concept that the idea of fluids, and we know from Dr. Emoto, who worked with water, that it can be impressed upon and that it has memory, and that it can take what your thought patterns are and turn them into crystallized aspects that can be utilized through the DNA in your body. So it is very important that we consciously have relationship with our food. And so what I'm going to recommend, and this is something that, again, it's not something new. People have been praying and blessing their food for a long time, but we're going to be very deliberate and conscious in the way that we talk about this today. And what I would recommend is, now that you know about the breath, and now that you know about what can happen with the seeds in relationship to your body and as you grow and how it heals you, when you don't have that food, when you're in a restaurant, when you're buying your food from the supermarket, it would be to your great advantage to bring the food in front of you, directly in front of you. And for you to even close your eyes for a minute or hold your hands over the food and without any interruption from conversation or anything else, to infuse into the food the thought that you are interested in, that it, improve your health, that it take away pain, whatever it is that's in your mind. Because the food is particularly receptive because it was designed for us for that purpose, to keep us healthy. And it is better than any physician. Our bodies are the best of physicians, and it knows exactly what to do with food. So if we do that and we quietly and seriously focus and concentrate on whatever it is we would like the food to do, we have an ally that will help us. So it's encouraged that you not have a lot of conversation during the meal. And it's also encouraged that you don't read a book where you're informing other ideas over your food. That, in fact, that you do this as like a sacrament, a sacred act, that you infuse your food with the thoughts that you would like to see come through, that you do this in a sacred manner, and that you slowly eat the food and ingest this communion or this relationship that you have established between yourself and the food. And then after you have done that, then and eat all of it, eat as much of it as you infuse. And then after you have done that, feel the communion between what has just entered your body and what you have been in contact with, that you're going to make this reality. What was a thought now can become a reality in the physicality of your own body. So that's a very powerful understanding.
Yes, ma'am. And I'd actually like to point out for all the listeners, this topic or the way that we're speaking about this topic, from the spiritual, mental, and even the way to energetically affect our experience, it takes a special person to be able to not only just comprehend and understand these ideas, however, to see them as being something that you add to your life without looking for instant gratification. So, when we speak about speaking to our foods and, having some reverence for the experience that we're about to have in eating our food and things like that, we might not directly point and say, okay, well, now that I do that, this salad is going to do this specifically for me, and I'm going to feel great after I eat this salad because I'm talking to it first, or I'm in the grocery store and I give it a little boost of my energy or of my interest before I do it. So now, this salad should work wonders for me. However, to understand that it's about us gradually changing our whole perspective and our whole way of existing or living, should I say. It's, for everyone who this is really hitting home to, or this is really interesting to, we are very excited about the way you can transform your experience in life. And especially for the young people that you are raising, that you're sheltering, that you're, have a big impression on, whether it's your child or someone who looks up to you in any kind of way, or you have an effect on their lives. To start them off on the right foot gives them so much of a blessing to experience things, or to never experience the negative side of things that we might generally commonly figure as normal. Being sick all the time, having to go to the doctor all the time, having all these different things that we just, it's a part of life type attitude towards. We can start the young people off on the right foot, but it takes us to really understand and be interested in the new perspective, or not the new, but the new perspective to us on interaction and our relationship with our food. So we're almost at break. However, I see you have something else you want to get into.
I did. I just wanted to make sure that I say that this is an important concept, that it's not so much about our food as it is about what we say and do and think about our food. There is so much power that each of us individually have that is squandered and misdirected, that could be infused into our own health, our well-being, and that of our families, our elders, and our ones that are in our care, through the sacredness of understanding that we are sacred, the earth is sacred, and what is produced from the earth is sacred. So when we think of things like fast food, we might want to reconsider that.
Yes. Well, and is it just because it's fast, or is it because, well, personally, I can tell you that the reason why I don't eat fast food, of course, isn't because it's fast. However, it's because of the fact that I'm aware of the fact that everything that's sent through those kind of places, especially those kind of places, are completely depleted of any value that it might have had at any point, borderline not even real. So, but that, that's everywhere because this world is based around money. So anything to cause there to be more for less, they're with it. However, especially the fast food, it almost is nothing there as far as value wise. If anything, it might be negative value that there is, and not just no value.
I think it's less for less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Not more or less for less.
But in addition to that, the idea of fast food, from how I'm understanding this topic we're speaking about, not only is it because it's not much nutritional value, but because the perspective of it is, let me get this and get it out to them. Let me just get it done with, get it over with. You come in and I don't want anything that was somebody took their time and put their energy and effort into. I want something that you just, you've already pre-made, and it's not tailored towards me. It's just, it just is. And that, now with that perspective, makes me even stronger, which I don't have any kind of temptations for fast food, but it especially makes me understand that it's not only the fact that it doesn't have value, but it's also the fact of the way that it was set up to serve people who have no value for their own selves.
And that's why it's not so much what's put in front of us. It's what we say and think about what's put in front of us. If we think, I just want to hurry through this experience quickly, I'm not looking for health, I'm not looking for nutrients, I'm looking for speed, then that's what you get. You get a sandwich that's fast, that doesn't have the other things. Food and our relationship with food should be a sacred experience, as this understanding gives us respect for the planet, respect for ourselves, and respect for anything that's going to be ourselves. The food, we do become what we eat. So, that's something to think about. You want to be respectful of what is going to be your blood, what will be your body, what will be your organs.
Yes, ma'am. Well, way to send us into the break. Anyone that has any questions or comments, if you would like to get on air with them, go ahead and call in now while we're on break, and we will take you as soon as we come out of break. Otherwise, we'll get into the last segment of our show, which is our transformational story. Everybody stay tuned. We'll be back. And we're back, everyone, with our last segment of transformation. We're speaking about our relationship with food. And I'm learning so much in this short time we've had together, and hopefully everyone else is as well. We have a couple callers we're going to go ahead and take real quick. So we have a caller from Connecticut. Hey, that's where I'm from, Connecticut. Miss Daphne, are you there?
And Lakesh, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. I just had a very quick comment, really much more of an observation than anything else. Over the since the beginning of the year, maybe just before, I've initiated a complete transformation in my food and my breathing practice and my exposure in the sun, just incorporating all the tools that your mother has shared with us to keeping our energy field illuminated. And I noticed that, I've even purchased the Organic Gourmet cookbook so I can begin implementing or at least trying some recipes that, would help build on my body. And I noticed over the last week or so that my heart chakra in the back was opening up. And I thought that was just really profound experience for me, because I've never felt that before. And I couldn't figure out what that was coming from. And as I'm listening to the show, that is exactly where it's coming from, is my food and the relationship that I've started with my food over the last several weeks. So I just want to thank you for sharing that insight with us today.
Thank you, Daphne. We are pleased, and I'm so happy that you noticed that you are increasing. You are becoming greater. You're becoming larger. More light is coming in, and this has everything to do with understanding and taking in the larger experience of yourself, which is this planet, in its many iterations. But if you are doing breathing and you're changing your food, there is going to be a huge change in your energetic profile. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes,
Absolutely.
thank
Thank
you. Daphne's got a love affair with her food now. Oh, man.
That's a good one to have a love affair with.
Oh, God. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and actually, okay, now I'd like to introduce a special guest of ours, Miss Holly. And Holly is going to speak with us concerning her personal transformation from whatever point she'd like to let us into her life and to now, so that we can have some perspective on the things that are possible when first loving ourselves and having value for ourselves and practicing these different transformational tools that we have available to us. Miss Holly, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, ma'am. You can start wherever you'd like to.
Okay. Well, one of the things I want to note that I'm still in my transformational process. Well, and I have several aha moments, but the one that is underlining and has helped me up until this day is to recognize that I'm not alone and that I'm not a victim of any situation or circumstances as I had thought in the past. And that's because I realize now that I have the power within me and the beautiful gift to tap into the source, as well as my dynamic spiritual team and family, to seek the truth that I need that's in the best interest of my highest good and well-being. And so if I end up in a situation that is less preferred or something that I don't want to be in, rather than reacting out of fear or fret, I just calm myself, look to my inner guidance, and start to ask the questions of what was the lesson I am supposed to learn out of the situation, and now what is also the corrective action I need to take to be able to move forward and beyond. I detach myself from the situation so I don't continue to relive that emotion, and then move forward. And so now I would say overall, it helps me so much with that moment of aha and transformation, which is tremendous, is that I can now confront and go to different situations that may have caused me hurt or harm in confidence. I'm not in fear. I know what I know because I know who's on my team. And I know what I know because I've already seeked the truth from someone and others who love me. And so that's pretty much, I want to say, is just my overall overarching transformation aha. And one thing I do want to comment on is, as I'm asking questions, as a friend told me, I need to learn to ask the tough questions, because you can ask questions, but if you're not asking the right question, it's hard for you to receive the right answer. So, I've learned through my transformation of asking the right questions so I can seek the right answer. And as I am adjusting and moving forward, sometimes that trajectory may have adjusted to a better position, and I'm getting another type of answer that I've had in the past. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It now means that I'm going in a different direction. So I still seek and see it as a level of truth and not something that, it's not in my best interest. I just go with the flow now, but it's literally walking in the light of confidence and not in the darkness of fear of anything of that nature. So that's my transformation.
Yes, ma'am. Well, Holly, before you go, do you mind me asking how old are you?
I am the wonderful age of 45.
45. Wow. Holly, you sound like you're 20, honestly. And not just because of your light voice, your fairy light voice, but because of the energy in which you speak with and the I guess I'll use energy as being the right word, but you also speak so sure and definite. That's why I had to ask, because I know the maturity and the confidence that you speak on is much of a normally a higher age than 20-ish. However, you speak with so much energy and light that I mean, I feel it through the phone while you're speaking. So thank you so much, Holly. And we
Thank
look
you.
forward to hearing more of your aha moments going forward in the future.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank
And
you.
you are most certainly loved and cherished,
Oh,
and you are not
thank you so
alone.
much.
And I know that you know that.
Yes, I do now. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to share.
Thank you.
All
And
right. Have a
thank
great day,
you
Holly.
for helping me. Yeah, thank you.
Well, we have some other tips that we'd like to give you concerning your relationship with food. And this is something that I often speak about and I've talked about many times. And it's the idea that you can interact, infuse the food with what you want. And I've already shared with you, to bring the food in front of you. You can close your eyes and focus on the food, or you can put your hands above the food. But I have some recommendations for things that you may want to share. So if you have a pencil and a paper, you might want to write this down. Some of you who are familiar with me will already be aware of these things, but I want you to know that your food, the earth, your body, and everything else listens to you. Everything has consciousness, and it has been arranged that way. The elements inherent in biology and life itself can be changed by you. The outcome can be vastly different from the usual expectation. It is you who can change the elements inherent within substances, especially your food and drink, although everything, the air itself, is imprinted with your frequency. Everything really is screaming for your help. Everything wants for you to interact with it. The grass, the flowers, your food, your produce, the food, everything is just waiting for you to acknowledge it, for your help, for your blessing, and for your love, in the same way that we are all waiting to be helped and to be blessed and to be loved. The whole universe has been designed that way. So when you sit with your food, you can ask your food if it will raise itself to its own highest original vibration. That means that you're asking it to go back to the original blueprint, the original design that the food was given by the intelligence that produced it for our bodies. And you're asking it to come forward and make itself available to you. And then you have to have this relationship, of course, with your body, which is another show, but we're going to talk about it briefly, where you ask your body if your body would be able to accept this higher vibration food. And if your body says yes, it would like to accept it, then you have to ask your body, will it raise itself up to a place where it can take in the original vibration of the seed? Because we live in times where we have been bumped down, so to say, from what we first were. So these are the recommendations that I have, that if you remember that if you asked it to, your food, to raise itself up to its original highest vibration, that you then have to match that vibration by including your body in that equation, and then allow your body to have a moment to bring itself to meet that, so that there can be an explosion, or this is like birth or a conception. So that conception can take place, and from that you can make more of you from that same purity of energy. So also, all food, all the food sources that we consume, from the animal kingdoms or from the plant kingdoms, and all the souls of the animals and those who surround you, it is good to make sure that we are in sacredness with them, and that we don't, we live in a world where food lacks soul because we don't acknowledge it. We don't show our awareness to it so our food doesn't operate, our water doesn't operate. Nothing operates as it would if it were structured perfectly from its original blueprint because we have ignored it. So it has become soulless. So we can call back into its full potential through our awareness and our will to do so. We can call all of this back to us just by making the requests on a consistent basis. And we can infuse our food with gratitude, with pleasure, with appreciation. And we can do this as a service offered to our planet. And it will serve everyone else too, because one person doing this, if there were 500 people doing it, if there were 5 million, our world would be a different place. So these are the recommendations we have for you concerning how to speak with your food.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. We are at the end of our time today. We thank everyone for tuning in with us, calling in. For all those that we weren't able to get to, we will get to you next time, hopefully. Well, last couple announcements before we go. I'd like to let everyone know we are so excited about our Quantum Light Clearing class that we have upcoming the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of this month here in Florida. We also will have one in March in Atlanta, Georgia, so stay tuned for information concerning that. Anybody that'd like to find out more information about the things we are doing, the services we offer, you can visit www.dnareplicate.com for more information on services. And for products related to food, you can visit www.ofthesuncoffeeshop.com. So, thank everyone, and hopefully we'll all speak next week. Have a great day.
Thank you.